Here are my 5 best barefoot hiking shoes. Number 1, best trail running / lightweight shoes. And at just 260 grams, the Vivo Barefoot Primus Trails take it at $160 and are among the lightest around, but also relatively tough. I've ran trail marathons, scrambled and climbed many nasty mountains, and pretty much traveled the globe in these. Agile, lightweight, and a true barefoot feeling. The downside is that the durability, I usually shred a pair in about 1 year's time, but for me, the performance is worth it. The flexibility, grip, and light nature of the shoes does come at the cost of longevity, though I prefer these over the knit, SG, and all-weather versions, which compared right there, for the purposes of hiking / trail running. Runner-up to that is the Zero Scrambler Low EV. Also $160 and 305 grams, they're a tougher alternative with a thicker, more protected sole and built-in trail gaiter loop. Less barefoot feeling, more hiking confidence. Definitely a better choice for a first-time barefooter or those looking for a bit more support or protection. The downside, of course, is the reduced feedback from the terrain. If you like to feel each bump, rock, and root, then you'll miss a lot of that with Zero Scrambler Low. I would recommend the EV version since it breathes and ventilates a lot better than the WP. Which brings us to the best budget hiking shoes. And I don't have them on me, I gave them away, but at 310 grams and even as cheap as $40 to $70, the Saguaro, Wyden, Jack Shibo, Amazon generic ones are remarkably affordable and a great choice if you want to dip your toes into the world of barefoot without a costly commitment. These will definitely suffice for easy to medium trails, and you certainly can push the limits with these anyways, and for such a low cost, they're worth a try. However, the durability, grip, aesthetics, and performance is clearly second take compared to the more established, non-generic brands, and I really would recommend investing a little bit more into a better quality pair, especially if hiking is on your mind. In the end, the build will come apart quite quickly, and you'll end up buying more shoes in the long run, so you can get most of these shoes I've mentioned with a discount, so check that out in the description. However, for runner-up for low-cost barefoot running hiking shoe is the $136 Lono Wild. A new company with a very impressive second model, the Wild is cheaper than almost all the other brands out there, with a remarkably good build quality and design. I mean, they got a stitched-on sole at this price point. I really rate these, and they're fantastic all-around shoes which have the hallmarks of a long-lasting choice. The downside is they're a little bit heavier and less breathable than some of the other choices here, which limits the athletic potential. And so this brings us to the best waterproof hiking boot, which for me, that's the Vivo Barefoot Tracker Forest ESC. For cold, wet, muddy, nasty, gross conditions, these take the cake. Though they come in at $250 and 634 grams. They are supremely comfortable with that leather build and have outstanding grip. They also look quite nice and they're top tier pick in every way. The downside is they are, of course, expensive and heavy. I'd really take these only on cool conditions with gross stuff, and I've had these hiking in the Arctic with micro spikes on, so nasty conditions, I really love these. However, the runner-up for that is the Zero Scrambler Mid WP at $189 and 420 grams. They're a good sum cheaper and lighter than the Tracker Forest ESC. Better for fast and light movement while keeping water and crud off your feet. The downside is they're not as comfortable or warm as the Tracker Forests. You can notice in several areas where the build quality, while good, isn't quite as premium as what Vivo Barefoot offers. However, the lower cost and lighter weight does make that trade-off pretty enticing. So that leads us to the best rough trails barefoot shoes. And if you're in heavier terrain, scrambling and putting in heavier work, then again comes the Lono Wild. They're my first pick in this category, and again, it's 375 grams, $136. They're lightweight and it's a compelling option. A nice thick sole, tough suede upper, and other thoughtful features kind of reminds me of the Scarpa Crux approach shoes. The downsides is that the sole doesn't really have enough distance between lugs, and they don't really shed that muck and nasty stuff off so well. And of course, they don't ventilate so good in hot conditions because of that leather upper. So for better ventilation, the runner-up is again the Zero Scrambler Low EV. The fact that you can natively attach a trail gaiter helps a lot when it comes to scree, branches, and grit from getting into the shoe on those gnarly trails. Combined with nice ventilation and a strong, sturdy sole, it is a really versatile choice. Another downside to the Scrambler Low EV is they don't really look so amazing, kind of like an average hiking shoe. I don't think they're hideous by any means, but don't be expecting to get any 5-star dates in these. At $160 and 305 grams though, they are a good cookie to consider. So, what is the best overhaul barefoot hiking shoe? What I choose? And the ones that I've chose the most in the last 7 years of my barefoot use are the Vivo Barefoot Primus Trails at $160. Over the last 7 years, these have accompanied me all around the world through forest, jungle, snow, desert, you name it. No, they are not the toughest, but they're so light, so agile, and they fit really nice on my feet, and they're great in really every way. No matter which pair I use, I kind of just keep coming back to these. And so the runner-up for that, if I didn't have those, it would actually be the Vivo Barefoot Tracker Decon Low. They're remarkably lightweight, flexible, and yet comfortable, but they definitely have a lot better durability due to that leather trim and merino wool upper. Also has really good properties, which has held up extremely well. I mean, nothing on the wool. $160, 350 grams. Pretty, yeah. Downsides are I don't really feel as locked in with these, and nor do they look the prettiest. However, the performance and comfort easily wins it for me. So, in conclusion, those are my best barefoot shoe picks. I've written more in-depth reviews and stuff all in the description on all of these different models and whatnot. Or click the link up there to see my ultimate buyer's guides on comparing all these of Zero or Vivo Barefoot and so on. If you do like my no BS stuff, please hit that comment, subscribe, crap, you know how it is, algorithm stuff. Anyways, thank you and goodbye.